Okay, good morning, everyone. We're gonna get started with our FY27 budget with the BOCC departments. Today's date is June 12th, 2026. The time is 9:02 a.m. In attendance are Commissioner Duncan and Chari. Expect Commissioner Everline to be joining us shortly. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Public comment. Anyone wish to speak? Hearing nothing, we'll move into our first business item, FY27 budget review, solid waste. And John Phillips, our director.
Morning, Commissioner. Excuse me, John Phillips for the record. Solid Waste Department is here today to present to you our proposed FY27 budget. The department's business and finance manager, Angela Fusier, has put together this information with input from our site managers, operations manager, as well as myself. Angela will be presenting the bulk of today's information and will answer most questions. However, any questions specifically equipment related or vehicle related should be directed to Dave Husky, our operations manager here at Lab. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll turn the presentation over to Angela at this time.
Good morning, Commissioners. So as we go through the FY27 budget for solid waste, I just wanted to first explain a little bit about the process that I go through, just so you have a little understanding. Just like everybody this time of year, we're really looking at the budget through the lens of needs versus wants. And I know that that's a big focus this year because it's tough. It's tough trying to balance things with the revenues coming in versus the expenses needed, the money's needed to run the department. And even though solid waste is an enterprise fund and we don't affect the tax burden with our expenses, that's something we still look at. We realize that the money that we are entrusted with it's still very much Kootenai County money. It is not just solid waste or some arbitrary person's money. We do think about that when we go to our budget. And so I just wanted to point that out, that was a big focus as it is every year, but we do keep that in mind as we go through things. So first, what I do is I meet with managers for each site and talk about their needs and wants and let them kind of daydream on what plans that they would like to have for their facilities and their equipment. And then, of course, we look at what's really needed and scale things back. And we also have our equipment replacement plan that has it all mapped out as far as when things should be replaced to make sure that we keep a good running fleet of equipment, because we have to have our equipment running every day to provide the services that we do. But even though the plan says that a certain piece of equipment has to be replaced at a certain time, we look at each one. The managers, like especially Dave Husky, went out and looked at the hours on them, looked at the condition. Okay, do we really need to push it? Do we really need to replace it now, or can we push it a year or two? And so that's kind of the things that we do. So the ones that we do end up going to replace, they're things that really do need to be done so that we can keep running the way that we do. So I just wanted to kind of explain that a little bit for everybody watching. It's kind of a little bit of the process, and we are taking it seriously. For solid waste, our expenses get quite high, especially with construction and making sure that we have enough room in the landfill for the waste coming in to make sure that we're always available. So sometimes it does require a lot of spending in order to do that. So sometimes hearing some of these big numbers, it can be that's a lot. But unfortunately, a lot of that's just the cost to run it. So anyways, I'll kind of dive in here. We'll go through A budget, B budget, and then capital budget. A budget, there's not a lot that I plan on a budget as far as what I look at, or the things that I touch are seasonal personnel, if we need to increase that at all, and our overtime budget. And then of course, if we have any personnel requests of extra new positions or changing positions, anything like that. So this budget snapshot is just a real high level overview of both the A, B, and C. And the A budget looks really small, and that's because it's just the parts that I plan. And that's our seasonal budget and our overtime budgets, and I made no change to those. No increases there. And of course, if we do, like, if there is any change as far as to the wages of our seasonal employees, like we are hoping to do soon, we aren't changing the amount that we budget, so we'll just reduce the amount of hours just to keep it all neutral. Is our plan. And then our operating budget, we do have an increase that's about 4%. Maybe a little more than 4%. And then our capital overall is actually a reduction. But with that said, this is a comparison of the FY26 amended budget to the request. And a lot of the capital, just because our request doesn't look high, what isn't spent in FY26, a lot of that we will carry forward just because of how equipment comes in and construction projects and things a lot of times don't finish right by the end of September, so then we have to carry it forward. So let's see here. First, we'll look at revenue first. We have an increase to the revenue, and a lot of that is because we did have that fee increase at the beginning of 2025, started January 25. And with, of course, it changed at the skill house right away, but what didn't change right away was the solid waste fee on property taxes. That went out this last December. So that's just now taking effect as far as affecting what we see in our revenue. So I did factor in that increase. See the inner fund, go into that. There are some changes to the inner fund. I'll explain that. So I'll go back here. Last year, I'll break that down. What one is? Our inner fund actually went down a bit from last year. Explain that a little bit. Part of that is the sheriff's office. Before doing the budget, I sent out an email to all the department heads to let me know, I sent out what it is that, what the interfund is for the services that their department provides to solid waste, and asked them if they saw any need for an adjustment, whether it needed to go up or down, and to make sure that it was a representative figure of what they need for us. And not very many responded, which is typical. A lot of times I don't get very many responses, but we did have a couple. So unless I heard something, I left it the same. If I didn't hear it, if I didn't hear anything, I left it the same. If I did, then it was adjusted based on what we agreed on. The biggest one is the sheriff's office. You'll notice that it shows a 0 there. And what we did is we moved that to the B budget. What was decided is instead of giving a flat amount, is they wanted to bill us based on what they truly provide. And that seemed like a good option for us.
How are they billing you?
They're going to invoice us.
Yeah, but how do they arrive at these numbers?
It's based on, my understanding is it's going to be based on the amount of hours put in and then
So,
like however much time they spend at the rural sites, or like if we have them come in to help us with something, that time will be billed to us.
so they're gonna keep track of the time. Is it to the site, at the site, or is it just at the site?
That's a good question.
I could send you a copy of the proposed email from the sheriff's office.
That would be good. And I'd like to understand how that works.
I'll send that to you.
Yeah, and then Brandy gave us the rate. The rate for that. But $63.17 per hour.
That seems kind of low.
I wasn't aware the sheriff's office was gonna do that. I thought that they were just gonna charge solid waste like 25% of the loaded annual cost of the vehicle, which is, I don't remember the exact percentage. I have to go back and look. But the number was 31,600. And now the sheriff's office is gonna do it more on where they're tracking their hour. I didn't know that. So,
Okay, right.
yeah, maybe I'll have to go back and talk to them.
Yeah, it probably would be worth making sure everyone's on the same page, you know, and how they're gonna provide an invoice that shows this time.
Definitely.
Because that's actually something I'm very interested in with respect to other jurisdictions,
Okay.
how that is to be realized.
Definitely, but I'm sure before the beginning of the fiscal year, we'll have things ironed out. The amount that I budgeted, I believe it's just under 32,000. I'll show that when we get to the B budget.
Okay.
Because what it was is we used to fund a full position. And then because of staffing and whatnot, we were asked to only do half by the sheriffs. And so then the last couple of years, it's just been half of a position, and then it's a good reason. Well, I'm not sure why they wanted to do this. I think part of it is they weren't sure in part how much time they'd really truly be able to devote to it.
Well, they should have those numbers a little bit to tell you what they have been doing based upon what they've been getting charged.
The only thing I got from the sheriff's office was an email saying that they would like to charge solid waste for 700 hours.
Right.
So I don't know how they arrived. I think they're estimating, for the year, we're gonna do 700 hours. I didn't think that they were gonna be tracking like every month how many hours they're actually spending there, but we clarified with the sheriff.
Yeah, that's about a third of a year. For
They
a
just-
full-time person.
Yeah, they just emailed me and said, let's charge solid waste for 700 hours.
Okay.
So.
All right.
It's my understanding they are reducing at the level of effort policing the rural collection sites, saying that they don't have the staffing to continue. So that was the proposal, as they were saying, we're not getting our money's worth, so we'd like to propose reducing this. You pay by the hour, it's more fair for everyone involved, and then we'll track the hours, but I'll get you that email for sure. I'll send it to you as well.
Okay.
Yeah, for 700 hours adds up to a pretty good chunk of change, more than 30 grand.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. No. Oh, I appreciate that. The more I know too, the better it all is. So that was one of the big reductions. Otherwise, the only other changes, Panhandle Health be reduced. Oh, where did it go? The amount for Panhandle Health. There was recently at the state level House Bill 555 that changed the regulating authority over solid waste. And so it came from Idaho Department of IDEQ versus Panhandle Health. So there isn't as much oversight that Panhandle Health does for the solid waste department any longer. So we reduced how much we put in the interfund. And then you'll see where we had the budget also in our B budget, quite a bit for some fees for IDEQ because of the change. See, so that's the interfund. So the total for the interfund, except unless something comes up, but sometimes Brandy ends up telling me changes as far as once the wages come out, this might change a little bit depending on what's decided by the board for FY27. But as of right now, the interfund amount is $926,343 for FY27. At least one. And then I'll go to the A budget. And that really just shows the breakdown of the numbers that I did my calculation for what I look at. And that I didn't change any of it. I didn't change any of the amounts for those. But then there is a personnel request. Which of course will change it if it is approved. And this is for another environmental systems technician position we currently have 4. So this would be a 5th. And this is due to, the RO and ROUF system that we have at the landfill. And the amount of time that it's going to take to run that, maintain it. Also, at some point after, if this is approved by the board, what we will also come with later is likely a little change up on how we would like to do the environmental systems, like as far as how they operate, monitoring at the landfill versus helping out at hazmat at the transfer stations. And so we may even have, even if this goes on, the loaded cost is $96,603, but with the little change that will come to the board of later, it might actually end up overall being less than that because of how we might change up the position a little with some reclassing, actually.
Is this an additional environmental position or is this a brand new one?
In addition. Right.
So as what Angela was painting a picture of is currently we have 4 environmental technicians. 2 are basically at the landfill during any given week. They're rotating, but 2 at any time are at the landfill. And we have 1 at each transfer station performing hazmat duty. So household hazardous waste, decommissioning refrigerators, hazmat unknowns, that kind of thing. But we're thinking that if this is approved, this will split those duties into environmental tax, but I don't know the load, the wage or any of the pricing yet, or what HR would come up with and analyze that position. Is split it out. So you have landfill tax and hazmat tax. So 2 techs would be at the transfer stations all the time, and then 2 or 3 then would be at the landfill all the time. And because of the RO unit, it's taking quite a bit more, so we would be the 3rd tech at the landfill.
So the techs would be there basically 5 days a week.
Yes, but we probably split their schedule so that each would cover 5 days a week, yes.
At each transfer station.
That's our first amount request. So I know that's not a lot on the A budget for information, but any questions for A budget?
I guess the only question I have is, and it's just kind of hard to track with, and it's just, what is the rest of the aid budget? This just has to do with you, but there's
Yes.
like high level numbers here.
Right.
They don't include all the aid budget.
Oh, absolutely. No, there's no way that it would only cost that little bit for an A. So there is brought. There's another page I gave, that was Brandy's numbers that she provided earlier, and it does show, these were Brandy's numbers for FY27, and it does include that personnel request. So this one, it shows the breakdown in our overall, like for personnel, what the increase would be, our B budget. That I'll go over what it looks like, our capital, and then our overall. So as of right now, not showing anything as far as, of course, carry forwards. Our overall is a decrease of 1 million over 1.2.
Yeah, so their base personnel budget for FY27 is 6.1 million. And then the $92,000 request for new positions. And then the increases for health insurance is 230,000 and the cost of steps is 58,000. So that would bring their total personnel to 6.5 million, which is a $457,000 increase. That's that she has up there.
Yeah, I guess it's just a little confusing. So I'm looking at capital, for example, FY26 adopted is 6.6 million. And then FY27 request is 4.3 million. So it has a reduction of 2.2, but I look at the snapshot, it's a reduction of 10 million.
Oh, well,
Or something total.
Yeah, that's this document
Right.
here. That says $10 million reduction. This says $2 million reduction. What am I missing?
right, and that is all of that personnel.
I think it's the capital
And
line. Yeah.
Oh,
Is it because it's the amended budget when we roll forward all of the projects?
right, this is comparing the amended versus the request.
So Angela's comparison is the 2026 amended budget, whereas mine is the adopted.
So this is where it helps to have apples and apples.
Right.
In presentation, so it makes sense. Struggling a little bit just to kind of track with what you're doing. So I know you run the department really, really well. But
But-
it helps.
Sure.
Okay. And then, so it looks like the A budget has an increase of 457.
Correct.
457,000.
Right, and that's the things that Brandy had said. The tough part is, I mean, as far as, yes, it does have that increase, but I don't have any say over the health coverage costs or, so that's why when I was presenting, it's just the things that I had any real input on. Steps aren't mine. I call steps and health. Let's see here. Okay, so then going forward to the B budget. I gave the worksheet that shows the lines. And it shows any increase or decrease, and of course, some of them do show some high percentages. So I'd like to go over the reasoning of what those are for. Let's see here. So on the B budget,
Sorry.
one of the, let's see, there's office supplies. That's 13%. Last year at the end of, before everything was adopted, our paper budget was moved to Reprographics with the changes there. And I did have to add some to office supplies. All of that moved, but there are still some things that we need paper wise that Reprographics didn't cover, like just receipt paper in our landfill kiosk, things like that. Paper for the credit card machines, stuff like that. So I did have to adjust it, because those are some expenses that got moved, but oh yes, let's see here, a big one. Subscription-based software you'll see is a big jump. And that is GPS software for the landfill. And I also moved some expenses from 8516 to this one. Big part of that. You'll see equipment maintenance supplies. Equipment maintenance and equipment repair costs. Those are always tough ones because the costs for that seem to keep going up. Plus, the other thing that we're seeing as far as with equipment maintenance supplies is that we had a fantastic deal, not deal, but product for tires for our transfer trailers. And recently, we can't get those tires any longer. And so that did change how we budget for tires, and that made a big impact with our equipment maintenance supplies. So our costs for tires are going up because the ones that we have, that we can get, frankly, don't last quite as long as what we were getting. So we do have to replace them quite a bit more often. The previous tires were pretty good. So that's a big part of that. Janitorial, you'll see a huge change on that, and a big part of that is, let's see here, janitorial, oh yes, for the RO, I moved some chemicals from their miscellaneous category into janitorial supplies, it seemed a better fit, and that's where running the RO and getting more of an idea of what the cost will be for ongoing. Just fine tune that a little bit so that some of the costs are where they really should be as far as their funds. Security services, an increase of 331%. That is the sheriff funds for the sheriff for us to have their services.
So if it is 6317 at 700 hours is 44,219.
I have, yes. And I emailed it.
Looks like it's going up a little more.
It was actually what I budgeted for. Let's see, a 5-year deputy at $63.17 for 500 hours.
Oh, 500.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to the sheriff. They sent me an email with 700 hours, so I
Oh,
guess we'll all have to be on the same page.
Yes, please, and how the invoices are gonna be calculated and
right.
all of that kind of stuff.
The other one, inspections and licensing. There's a big increase there, and that is that House Bill 555 fees and Tier 1 fees that we're budgeting for, and a lot of that is based on garbage amounts brought in and gas amounts, just depending. The others. Computer maintenance is another big jump in there, 68%. And a big part of that is our surveillance system license. And that's only every 3 years, so that's there for FY27, but won't be there next year. So the overall for B budget increase would be 4%. Any other questions on B budget?
I don't have any questions.
On the next one, it's broken down a little different. The B budget, just to kind of show how much of an increase it is hauling in fuel versus just regular other fee expenses. A lot of times this is good to see because typically, not in this case, but typically we see a big increase as far as hauling in fuel, but not so much on the other costs. But lately with fuel and things like that, I didn't put any increases for fuel. I helped with what I budgeted for last year. I think it will maintain fine into the next year. And then the only increases as far as hauling in fuel, was for hauling, and that is just contract. And waste stream, because I assume that the waste stream will increase a little bit next year. And then C budget, here's our big ticket items. Video surveillance. We have, this one is for, Micah and Sunup, which we have cameras there, but they're more of like the trail cams, and we have to go and pull the SD cards and, not very high tech. We can't really monitor it from our desk at all. We do have a few other sites where we can, and the system is working really well, so it's gonna upgrade those two sites so that we can have the same system there.
Okay, gosh, just for clarification, Sunup and FICA both have the newer systems.
Oh.
That's actually for updating application girls.
Sorry, thank you.
It's okay.
Apple and Choco, and so
They have really both systems.
That's what it was.
installed around 10 years ago. They don't, you can't link in, you have to go up and their DVR style recordings. So it's an upgrade for the app on children's site.
thank you, Jamie. The other one is software, and we are looking to do a software upgrade for all of our facilities. And it is desperately needed. So what we currently have, yes, it's working. It's not that it's not. Obviously, we've been running on it for quite a long time. We also used to have a programmer with the company that it's through who would make changes for us, and we could, it was really great. He has since retired, and the company, basically with him gone, we have zero support. So any kind of changes, if anything goes down, we'll be in big trouble. It would not be good. That, and as you can imagine, I think this was put in 2010. And so there have been a lot of things that have come out since then to where we can really run things a lot better, especially on our billing software and payments and things like that, as well as at the scale house and how people enter and exit. If there are a lot of ways where we will in the long run be able to save on costs if we get the right one, and that this cost includes what I intend for them to come out and help us implement it as well. Passenger van, that is to replace an existing one that we've been kind of pushing to later, we can replace that later kind of a thing. And it's later, it's time to. A forklift for Ramsey, transfer trailers, each year we do 2 for each site, just to keep up our fleet.
Just real quick on the passenger van, how old is it? How many miles are on it?
Do you have that, Jake, for 20 minutes?
No, it was near 200, I believe. I don't.
200,000.
Yes, and it was used when we bought it, and we're putting so a lot of money in it.
Right. So I'm just curious, that's it.
I'm gonna give you the rough year, but it's about 20 years old, and it's, I don't think it's quite at 200,000, but it's pretty much falling apart at this point. It's so van we use for transporting crew to the landfill and these short highway litter pickup, and this was budgeted for a used van at that price.
Okay.
Let's see, a loader. Ramsey facility improvements, that I just have a ballpark figure in there, so in case things come up during the year, like HVAC things, any sort of repairs. It's not for any specific thing, it's kind of a placeholder, so if a repair does come up, then we've got the funds there to use. Improvement construction, that's for the Ramsey condo building. We budgeted for it for FY26. And are finding that what we budgeted isn't quite going to do it. So that will have to be pushed to FY27, and we're asking for additional funds to be able to make that happen. It's the RDO base station that has to do with the GPS grain equipment at the landfill. And the turf project will be pretty much all done in FY26, but there will be a little hold off. A little bit that will go into FY27. And then E4 engineering. So as you know, we just finished with E3 engineering, and we'll be putting engineering and construction, and we'll be putting waste in that cell soon. But that's not a huge cell, and now it's time to start looking at E4 already, so that we can start making space for that. And that, let's see, so that is a little over almost 4.4 million for those projects and equipment. And then the other list shows a little more of a breakdown. There's some extra Other things like the Ramsey pit repair, some Curry facilities improvements, landfill improvements, new flare for at the landfill. Those are things that aren't budgeted for because I'm going to use carryover funds for those projects. So if that didn't go into the thing. What we have planned for FY27.
Transfer trailers, we have all together.
Is 53, and we just received, we'll get 4 new ones this year, and we just received all 4 of those have been paid for, without an operation yet.
And there are times that they're all full.
That quantity of trailers, although it sounds high, holds approximately 1 day's garbage for transport to the landfill. So we don't have a lot of room for extra capacity. And we've actually elected to save the trailers that we would normally surplus because of the increased quantities of waste. So yeah, it's just the 1 day about.
All right, so I just want to make sure I'm real clear on this. We have a FY26 adopted budget of $25,563,778. The FY26 amended budget is $27,926,235. So it went up- the amended budget went up about let's see. About 2.5 million. And then the FY27 budget request is $24,324,418, and that's largely because of a reduction in capital. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, I think so.
So what I'm looking at is a $993,640 increase on your operations A and B budget. First question is that something that you can absorb today, moving forward? Do your revenues support that? Will you be able to keep your rate, and the tax bill the same
Yes,
forward?
yes, we don't need to.
No changes. We'll be able to manage this to these numbers moving forward.
Yes, there is one thing that we will likely come, as far as as we change our software. One of the improvements that I'm looking for in new software is for people to be able to go online and pay their bills. And right now, we have no capability for that. We don't accept online payments. We have nothing for it. And that's something we'd like to do.
Under what circumstances would someone pay their bill? Like for what? I mean, because usually they go in with a scale, right, and they pay when they leave.
We have, people have charge accounts as well as,
Okay, so you extend credit, you terms.
we do.
Okay,
We do that and then that's only a small part of our AR. A larger part is, so every business in Kootenai County that has a dumpster, like a 6-yard dumpster, they pay solid waste on that.
okay.
So they have solid waste accounts on everyone and every business.
I think you may have mentioned something like this a couple years ago, but we deal with it so infrequently.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
So there are, our billing, we print over 2,500 statements a month. And then also, send out late notices every month.
You mail that many?
Yes,
Is there any way you can do email statements?
we do some email currently, but again, yes, that's something that I would like to do more of. And we'll be able to with something.
And maybe we can offer an incentive, to get people to switch over, because that's a lot of mail. That adds up,
It's a lot.
especially with postage going through the roof.
And that's a big part of what, like the amount for the interfund for Reprographics is, and that's why the jump there is the postage. We send out a lot of emails. But one of the things as far as moving it to online and accepting more credit card payments versus check payments by doing that. I know a lot of other departments in the county pass on the fee, credit card fees on to customers. Solid Waste has never done that. But that is something that we will probably have to look into. Currently, our fees just for credit card fees is about 160,000 a year, just for fees. And if we move even more of our AR into a situation where people can more easily do credit card, that's just going to grow exponentially. So that's one of the things that will have to change around the time of that.
It's your new position, and that's
A new position?
no, it covers your new position.
Right. It would. Yeah, and certainly that either new position or, over a couple of years, will certainly cover the upgrade of CS software.
I wanted to mention that solid waste going out and start looking for new software. We've also been putting solid waste in a lot of our meetings for a new financial system. Ideally, we would really like if there were maybe to be some sort of connection between solid waste software and the finance office. Right now, we just do a journal entry every month to record solid waste billings in our system. And so we don't know yet, but something we're hopeful of going forward, maybe if we're both looking at new systems. More efficiencies and maybe some more connection between the two systems, so.
That would be a pretty big deal for you.
It would.
Really create a lot more efficiency.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Comments?
And yes, we'll definitely look into that. And iron things out.
Yes, thank you. Okay. That concludes solid waste. Next up, it is FY27 budget review transit. Get you guys to sit up with one desk. We will start with Chad Ennis.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Sean Golden with the Transit Department of Record. So Transit is proposing a fiscal year 27 budget consistent with the prior year, and no funds are being budgeted in the A and C budget. Additionally, this fiscal year, no funds are being budgeted in the B budget as well.
No additional funds.
What's that?
You said no additional funds.
No, just additionally, there's not going to be any funds budgeted to the budget. So there is no funds being budgeted.
Oh, zero. So you reduced your B budget from $2,050 in FY26 to $0 in FY27.
Correct.
Well, I think you are going to be a nominee for the shortest budget presentation in the county's history.
Well, we got to make it up to time somewhere.
So basically it's $0
Correct.
to the county for A, B, or C.
Correct, sir.
And the money comes from the
Great
grant.
Transit is for grants and jurisdictional cash match, and then obviously our match comes from in-kind match as well. Yes.
Are there any questions? Well, I will nominate you for that. I don't know if it'll go much further than this right here. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next up is item 3, FY27 budget review of adult misdemeanor probation.
Morning, Commissioners. Will Hunter for the record, government probation, for fiscal year 2027. We have no new personnel requests, we have no program requests, no capital requests. We're continuing our lease expense for our TASER program. That's staying the same at 13,520. And due to we're eliminating our Kootenai program. So that budget what was in that budget for operations for our canine officer. We are taking some funds from that, because then we'll have to use that in our regular operations budget for fuel, travel, training, weapons, self-defense, for ammunition, supplies like that. So, in eliminating it, with them currently being out right now, looks like we're gonna be getting, or not usually 19,000 from that budget. So that will go back to the county. As far as the budget goes, we the only increase in that would just be what's expected with steps.
Okay, so, your B budget is going down. And is that largely the dog or is that, other?
That has to do with our purchase of radios this last year. So we are good operationally with the equipment that we have, so.
Okay. How long do your radios last?
These have lasted. I'm going 5+ years, probably more, but the radios that we had were, they were not all the same. It was a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
We kind of, so, my hope is we can get 5 to 10 years out of these. It'll be dependent upon technology, obviously, and any changes that happen with, probably 911, but the radios that we have, we talked with, 911, and they should last us for some time.
Well, I think one of the things that stands out is that you're kind of under the law enforcement umbrella. And you've been able to, granted your budget is much smaller, reduce it. The only increase is with the A, where we have the health insurance and some other, expenses. And so I really appreciate that. That's what we really kind of need help with this year, given our health insurance increase and some of the other bills that we've kind of been hit with. That increase are now operating, expenditures. Are there any questions or comments on this? It's taxpayers at the end. Yeah. Taxpayers appreciate that. Mr. Duffin? That's all right. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
And I will nominate you for one of the shortest budget.
Thank you.
All right, next up is item 4, and this is juvenile detention. Eric Sheffield.
Morning, Commissioners. Eric Sheffield, Juvenile Detention. Present our FY27 budget. Juvenile Detention has a few different budgets, so I'll touch on those. Focus mostly on our primary operational budget, but we also have a clinician budget. We have another budget that includes the school meal program, and we have a maintenance budget. Buildings and grounds will be presenting that budget this afternoon. So I'll start with our anticipated revenues for FY27. We have housing revenues. By the way, we did increase our housing rate for FY26 to the counties that we contract with. We went from $150 daily rate to $225, a significant bump. So we are seeing a little bit of an uptick in those revenues. However, we're predicting about $104,000 for FY27. Some other sources of monies coming into the county would be through our clinician program. She's sort of her own budget, and we receive $100,000 a year. We expect to receive that amount for FY27. That goes towards the clinician salary load and line items in her budget, and that's approximately, I think, for FY27 that was $138,000. To put that in perspective, state pass-through funds are contributing $100,000 towards that. And then our school breakfast and lunch grant, just to put it simply, pays 100%, 7 days a week for breakfast and lunch for our residents. We do budget for dinner. And there's a little bit extra. For example, breakfast and lunch collectively right now are costing us $7.16. The federal grant reimburses $7.56. A little bit extra in that, and that's applied, the extra is applied as a credit to our aid budget. That's worked out through the auditor's office. Doesn't equate to much, they get $1,000 credit towards the aid budget. That's basically the revenues. So for our operational budget, total B budget, we're in trend with FY26. We are, however, $1,008 higher than we were last year. We're budgeting we're requesting $162,030 for FY27. We were at $161,022.
Is this in any of our documentation? This looks so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you go.
I mean, I've got,
They had some updated ones.
so the most recent one has nothing on A.
Correct.
161 from 26, 162, so $1,000. Is this what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, because I didn't see any revenue numbers, that's what.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't see Brandy's snapshot. I don't.
So the one that I emailed you, juvenile detention, is line number 4 under operating budget. And it says, same as Garrett's numbers, $1,008 increase.
Well, we need to get these things consolidated as place for the
Yeah.
board. So let me go to that, because while you were speaking, I'm trying to figure out, what are you looking at, that, where is our information?
Yeah, I emailed the board, my total summaries, but, yeah, I'm not any part of other communication between the departments and the board, so I'm not sure on your end how that all,
Yeah, it gives them out.
okay.
Just from Wednesday.
When I sent it to the board,
Yes.
let me look at,
It's been a while.
it's dated June 4th, I believe. I can find an email that I sent.
That's
I
fine.
said I think I sent it last. Yeah, I sent it on Friday, June 5th. To the board, I sent the PDFs of budget summaries for every elected official.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Eric. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. So going back to our B budget, we're about 0.63%. We're requesting 0.63% higher than last year. And that's because we certify our staff in first aid, CPR, AED, and that's at a cost of about $1,400. And that reoccurs every other year. So we were actually a little bit under, but that put us a little bit over to pay for that. So we have no capital requests.
That's good, but that seems unusual for an operation like yours. Because you have a lot of equipment, a lot of stuff.
Okay, so this afternoon, maintenance is going to be presenting the juvenile detention maintenance budget, and there is a capital request for software upgrade for our electronic door system. And they'll explain the details of that. I think that cost of that is we somewhere around $24,000 for that upgrade. And that upgrade does reoccur about 4 or 5 years. So that's essentially going to be for the facility as a whole. That kind of sound good with their presentation.
Everything is good with the building, maintenance is up to date, we don't have any projects with anything coming down the pipeline.
Maintenance does a tremendous job keeping us in good shape. You know, we may be, this is again another maintenance consideration. Our roof will need to be replaced at some point. I'm not sure what the timeline is on that, but
We're gonna talk about it Tuesday.
we really want to, yeah. Sounds good.
All righty. Any questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up is item 5, FY27 budget review, juvenile probation.
He is on his way, and I know Shirley's sending Grant down. Do you want me to go now again?
For yourself, for the BOCC office. We can do that. Come on down, so we'll jump to item 9. FY27 budget review, BOCC office. And Michelle George.
Good morning. First, just wanted to say thank you to Brandy and Jessica for their help walking me through this for the first time, answering all my questions and all the things. So I really do appreciate that. The first one we will go over is our office, which is the 10.1.001.0. I believe it's the first black tab in your binders, and it should also be on in the one folder as well. So with our office, we project a budget decrease of $7,000 for FY27. This is primarily due to the savings with our new phone plans, switching from Verizon to T-Mobile, that's the area I'm working on, and also a decrease in overall travel expenses.
I thought we were gonna have an increase of travel expenses.
No, it's just always been so inflated. So even with, I know Mark didn't do a lot of travel, but even with Julie coming up, okay, so moving on to the general fund. 10.1.003.0. So our portion of the A budget is done by HR, and they are reflecting a $9,400 decrease overall based on their projections. Service awards did increase by $600. However, we had a $5,000 reduction for the temporary staffing pool and a $5,000 decrease in the employee referral program. So that brought that down. Overall, of a decrease of $9,400. Our portion of the fee budget for the general fund shows a decrease of $73,000. We had just a little bit of a decrease in legal services. The main decrease was the electricity and gas for the new justice building. Leanna and Jeff, we really didn't know what it would be, so I think they probably estimated just a little bit high since that was a brand new building. So just looking at the numbers and where we're at now, we feel comfortable decreasing that by $38,000. Also, we had our new independent auditor for FY27. Their bid came out and with Baker Tilly, and that was a decrease of $17,000 from I Bailey from last year. And also the impact fee study by Tischler Bice is completed, so we decreased the consultant fee by $12,000. The only increase we had is $7,700 for the U of I extension program. They did present to you on April 21st, but still, even with that, the overall B budget will decrease $73,000. C budget will stay the same as last year. So that's for the U of I office leads on the page freezer software. That's $40,548 for that. Okay. Moving on.
Any questions?
Good job.
Next one is Fund 49, that's the Aquifer Protection District. I know they detailed their budget requests on May 26th to the board at status update. They are projecting a decrease of $203,000 compared to last year. They said they're trying to reduce their fund balance by about $71,000 for next year. They do have their budget hearing next Wednesday. And we moved it to 4 o'clock. It used to be at 6 o'clock. They'd always have to wait after the meeting, so we decided to move it to 4 o'clock this year. For the budget hearing, excuse me, and the regular meeting will be at 4:30. So. Yeah, they just didn't have a lot of funding requests for community support. And mental health also decreased by 40,000 for them.
Yeah, so, bottom line numbers are,
That one, their FY27 budget is $598,889. Which is a decrease of $240,928.
Okay.
Okay. Next is Fund 45, District Court with CASA, the court appointed special advocates attorney. Chris Schwartz, excuse me, is keeping his number the same for FY27 of $105,000 a year for his representation. And so there will be no change in Fund 45 for next year. Okay, next up, this one is for Fund 33, the Health District. And Panhandle Health did meet with the board on April 28th to discuss their funding request for next year. As a reminder, they are not requesting any change to the overall contributions from the county, but due to the fluctuations of population and property valuation, they're estimating the Kootenai County portion to increase by $6,200. However, yes, they, the budget, I guess, was not approved originally, so it will be June 16th next week. She'll be attending that, so I'm not sure what that's going to look like.
it probably is gonna be more likely what you have.
Okay.
And it not be.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so that number is $1,479,299, which is a decrease of 16 for. Okay, next up is Fund 34. That's the Historic Preservation Commission. They have decreased their budget by $9,300 compared to last year. This comes from, they have completed the historical markers project and the Justice Building photos project. I think they're almost done with that, but it'll be completed in FY26. They did add some funds for consultants because they're trying to get the Post Falls Water Tower placed on the National Register. And they are contributing $10,000 to the Rathdrum Jail Roof Project, which we kind of talked about last year. So they're going to be having some monies for that project this year. For FY27. Okay, keep going.
Yep.
Okay, next up will be Fund 15, which is the Justice Fund. And so that will remain the same as last year, which was, it's $302,521. We originally had an increase this year of $15,000 for the IAC Valuation Litigation Fund, which we normally pay in odd numbered years, which would be FY27. However, I didn't see it on the billing sheet, so I reached out to Kristen Cundiff. She said they're not assessing the litigation fund this year as they have adequate fund balance. So that will remain the same as FY26, which is $302,521 for that budget. Next is Fund 15 also, but this is for the public defender. So although public defense was taken over by the state of Idaho in FY25, we are still required to pay specific expenses for that. So for the B budget, for that fund, which is 15.1.060.3, our portion of the B budget has increased. I apologize for about $2,500. So we did have a decrease of $1,000 for the repairs and maintenance of the building. However, the janitorial contract increased by 1,500 and the utilities by 2,000. So overall, that's an increase of 2,500. And then on their C budget, that had increased by $6,700. That is just due to their graduated lease schedule that they have. So that would be the difference for FY27.
Thank you.
And last, which is pretty just straightforward, is the tourism budget, which is Fund 19. Last year we budgeted $1,000. It looked like we took in more money for that, so we just changed it to 2,000. But it's basically, we just take the revenue in and then we pay that to the Post Falls Chamber of Commerce. So the impact to the county is 0. That completes all of those. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Questions? Comments?
Commissioners, I did want to make sure that you understand. So the $10,000 in the Historic Society budget, that is coming from property tax, the 10,000 to the Raftrum old jail roof. So just wanted to be aware, because I know it was cut from the budget previously, so it is in there right now. We will need to include that in our discussion of community support services when we have our operating budget meeting.
Fair enough. Thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Okay, we will go to item 5, juvenile probation. For Brian Helmsing.
Thank you, Commissioner Brian Alexander, for the record. I'll just start by noting on the revenues, we still have not from the state on the tobacco lottery numbers that will be allocated to us. They stated hopefully by the end of this month, we'll have those numbers. And I do keep Brandy in the loop, those emails, so when we get those numbers, those can be updated. Start with the operations budget, 15.1.139.3. No new personnel requests this year, so no additional costs there. B budget actually reduced by $900 or the 0.23% decrease, and then no capital C budget requests out there, so it's 0.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
So tobacco, 15.1.139.3.40. Again, no new personnel requests, so no change there. Total B budget, decrease of $4,683, so 11.32% decrease. And no capital request and no expenses there.
Okay, so the A budget numbers I have were just, they're not, you're still waiting on them.
Still waiting on the lotto funding, those exact revenues.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Lottery, 15.1.139.3.142. Again, no new personnel requests. And no personnel costs out of that budget, so there do have a $158 increase in this budget, which is 4.6%. And that's for 2 reasons. One, I would like to increase the mentor pay $1.21, which would match what the chaplain contract is going to be, so that way they'll be parity between the two, because they do work closely and overlap a little bit. And then the other part of that was addressing the increase to line item, for training materials. And the reason for that is, we've never had a dedicated training fund, other than sending staff to the Idaho Juvenile Justice Association, conference, which is held throughout the state, yearly, but no additional funds for other training. For example, the sheriff's office had a training locally that was $300. And unfortunately, being up here, most of our training in Boise, just kind of increase that to be able to allow for additional training opportunities. So that, for that increase, and then no capital C budget costs. So
All right, thank you.
and then last Juvenile Corrections Act 15.1.139.3.141. Again, no new staffing requests. So again, when those numbers come in from the state, we'll have more accurate, but no be budget costs, no capital costs
So just ignore all this A budget stuff here, basically.
for now. But we're not asking for anything new, so there shouldn't be
Any change.
any changes other than to whatever the board decided as far as steps, that kind of stuff.
Workload,
We're picking
case
up.
counts are going up, going up.
We're, right now, normally we have about 10, pre-sentence investigations scheduled through the board. I think right now it's at about 35. So we're seeing a huge influx of cases through the court.
What do you suppose that is?
I think part of it is, well, I would suppose because the end of the school year, the school resource officers are going back to control, so they're clearing out the best. Schools are closing out all their cases, the school closed, all those treaties, all the juvenile cases that been sitting with those officers that have now that you're back to control or been finished up and sent through, so.
How's that gonna affect your office, your department? And if you're going up in case count, at what point do you have to kind of say uncle a little bit? Come to the board and ask for another staff member?
Well, I mean, right now, we have one open probation officer position because we did lose one to diversion. So I do have an open position that isn't filled at this time. So I think I'm kind of a ways out and asking for another probation officer. But if things continue in the way, the mental health crisis and the substance use with these cases, they are more involved. So we may have to look at other alternatives to help those caseloads. As you know, we run a lot of say classes, we call them programs for classes. And so just trying to give those kids as many opportunities as they can to get through, because there's just not a lot locally. So it's just trying to partner with community partners, what we have, and create that. But I'm hoping that when we add that other position, we're not overloaded. But I mean, if we continue this trend, probably next fiscal year, we might have to look if it continues this way.
Well, just keep track of your workload. Cases per, officer.
They'll be going out to all the board, monthly, because the fees are beginning of monthly, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at areas, Post Falls, Boone, right now, that's where our highest caseload is out of the city of Post Falls. Then Court Lane, Providence, Fair Lake. It's probably our smallest caseload, but Post Falls is definitely our biggest area right now.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much. All right. Next up. Item 6, FY27 budget review information technology. Brian, come on down.
Good morning. So we have this broke down to a pretty high level, and we can go down to as little detail as you guys would prefer. But we can start with just the overall numbers, which we've got here. comparison from FY26 to FY27. There was a slight change in this spreadsheet from the one that you guys have. So a little bit more of a change. There was a $15,000 printer at the sheriff's department that prints all the ID badges that needed to be added in kind of last minute. And there, from 26, that the capital outlay, there was a number put in there that shouldn't have been it for a previous year. So the $78,000 capital outlay from last year is accurate, where it was like 114, I think, on your spreadsheet. So, a change this year of $208,000 from last year to this year. I can go through each individual org set, and then after we go through each org set, if you would like me to call out any kind of specific details on those, why there's change, what the change was, we can certainly do that.
And Wednesday, we increased your budget by 206,000.
I'm sorry.
Treasurer.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That in your.
If we may take a minute just to discuss that. I just heard about that. I don't know if the assessor is on board with that yet. If they are, that's a way to move forward. If they're not, it's really not possible without both entities moving.
Chief
forward.
Deputy was here and we explained to him what was happening.
Okay. If that's the case, the other thing to consider about that moving forward is we just got done with the simpatico project. That's what got our current version of Momentum in line with the Idaho State Tax Commission. The Idaho State Tax Commission is not planning on going to that new version called Platform yet. So we've put all this time and effort into getting concurrent with them so that we can make some economies of scale and use all these reports they're writing and get help from them and everything. If we go to Platform before them, we're kind of breaking that as well.
We're gonna be minimum third in line, from my understanding. The treasurer wants to wait until Canyon wants to go first, then Bonneville. And then we'll see after that if it ends up to be Kootenai or Ada or who. But it's just for the placeholder, that sure 6,000 is just to say, yes, we're interested, and can we please get a discount because there's 5 of us coming too.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that was formal board direction to move the treasurer request to IT, but I can do that now that I know. Along the same vein, I'm glad you're here, Grant. So treasurer request is a placeholder. It's going IT because it affects more than one elected official. So for the auditor's request, placeholder, new financial system affects multiple elected officials. Is that also something that you want moved into IT? Originally, I put it in the auditor, just like the treasurer put their request in their own budget. But if we're moving treasurer's request, do we also want to move the auditor's request as well to IT?
Is that something that?
I believe that everything related to IT should be in the IT budget, just for everyone's ability to be able to capture all of IT as a whole. I'm okay either way, but I certainly don't have a problem with the IT budget.
Okay, I'll make those changes. Your number's gonna change.
What's that?
Your number gonna change. I know.
Well, we can talk about everything else. We have that all up front.
All these things come from other elections and then go into the board's budget too.
Sure.
And that changes that actually changes the nature of how we look at this and where the expenses are coming from.
Okay.
So I'm not convinced that maybe we want to do that.
That's
Because once everything gets wrapped up into the board, then it's harder to see those needs for each elected too.
Well, we own this, and so if we own them, then I don't have a problem with it.
Or who are the ones driving the updating of this stuff?
Well, sometimes it's the law, sometimes it's.
There has to be a driver, and the driver is typically the elected officials. Unless IT is driving it. I mean, is IT saying to finance, it's time for you to update your system? Or is finance saying it's time for us to update our system?
I'd say the latter in this instance, probably the same for the Momentum system. So, yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, again, what you feel you want to be able to capture. we've always, in IT, we've always gone that route of if it's technology, put it in IT just so that you can see it as an IT, but there's certainly other factors that are important to use, so.
Well, what happens is we look at these numbers down the road, we forget about this conversation, and we go, why is the BOCC's budget so big?
Right.
Why is that information technology so much money, right? What are you guys doing it?
At the same time, I would still be completely comfortable if that question were asked today about the tax and assessment system, defending the fact that it was driven by the treasurer and the assessor.
I'm not saying that we can't discuss that. What I'm just saying is that 6 months from now, we have to remember these things.
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the current one that we're using, not the one they're proposing to go to.
Yeah.
If we were asked about that or any other system that was driven from a different reason than say IT saying it's just so old, you have to update it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep pretty good mind on why that happened. So that's what I'm saying is I'd be comfortable defending whether it's something driven by the board or something driven by a elected. But again, I'm open to.
I mean, the same thing could be made of election equipment, right? It's county equipment, it plugs into a wall, so it's IT's responsibility. Sure. You know, and so that's what I mean, like, we just have to figure out from a fiscal perspective, how do we want to look at it, not a responsibility perspective. And I'm kind of leaning a little more towards keeping it in the elected officials budget.
So when it's a multiple elected, like the tax and assessment system that's being proposed, where would you like to see that?
Also, I just wanted to clarify, for new systems, the ongoing costs of these systems are in IT because IT is the one involved in those contract terms and like working with the vendor. Because department heads, and I'm speaking for finance system, but also a lot of our other systems, IT staff are the ones that like, they have staff that specialize in each of those systems, and they're the ones managing those contracts, not the department heads. Because we don't know the IT side of the contract, so I don't know if that helps at all. Grant, as to why a lot of that is in IT.
Oh, it does, for sure. Yeah, definitely the ongoing support. IT is that entity that's taking the response from the department, hey, our system is or isn't doing this. We go talk to the vendor and figure out how to make it do what it needs to do and work with the vendor to do that. And that's where those ongoing support costs go to. An initial rollout, I think is what you're referring to. Commissioner Rattari.
Just who's bringing this to the board? It's the elected officials that bring these requests to the board. It's not IT.
Right.
You know, technically, I think right now, we're billing, solid waste for IT services.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
But we're not billing the other elected officials.
Right, I believe that was done because of the enterprise fund nature of solid waste.
I understand.
They wanted us to bill them versus. But yeah.
So, you know, it's just a matter of how you want to look at it
Mhm.
for planning purposes, not for responsibility.
Yeah.
Totally different things.
Well, I don't have a problem with it being in the IT budget, but I'm concerned about your concern. So if you want it, left in another budget, again, like I said, it's a two elected system, at least the tax and assessment system is, so I would need to know where to put that, or if we split it somehow between the two based on usage and size.
Well, I would propose that we at least keep it the way we have been for now, and it's just a bigger discussion.
Sure.
On how we answer some of these questions.
Okay. So put that in the financial.
So we'll leave them as is then.
Well, it sounds like if he's saying the way we've done it, it's putting it in our T's budget up.
No, what I'm saying is keeping it in the elected officials' budget. They're the ones driving this. Once it goes into IT's budget, then it gets kind of lost in the ether, if you will. Who's driving it? Because then my next question is, what other software do we have coming down the pipeline in the next 3 to 5 years that we're gonna have to address from other elected officials? And if the answer, if you're not keeping your, ear to the pavement on what these other elected officials are coming down with, then who's gonna be the one that presents? We need $3 million for a new software upgrade. Is it gonna be you, or is it gonna be the elected official? And that's why I say, once you start kind of blending everything in together, it becomes very hard to understand what these drivers are, what we need to anticipate.
Typically, you would see, I believe, that elected and IT coming in unison to present. Both from a technical perspective and a workflow usage perspective, what the need of the system is.
Typically,
I would say always, sorry.
okay, because Brandy presented the software on her own.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm just saying that's the way it happened.
Right, we've been in meetings with Brandy along the way and observing and trying to figure out the IT side and that too, so. Yeah, I don't have to answer why Brandy was not accompanied by IT. on that.
Sorry, I didn't invite them.
So, okay.
We are happy to do that. If it was.
All right.
So, all right,
I took you off track there. Sorry, Grant.
it's not a problem. Good usage of time. Getting back to those expenses, specifically what you're talking about, that's what's in our admin operating budget. It's increased by $108,000 this year. Again, we can get into specifics of that, but the big high hitters on that one are going to be our website has you've heard of the new ADA compliance for all websites being enforced from the federal government. That was a $40,000 increase that we have to deal with. And then the rest is just all of the support contracts for all of our countywide softwares at their standard 3% or so increases. So that's what that's reflective of. At the sheriff's office, we have a specific work set just for sheriff things to help capture what's going on there. And we're looking at $105,000 increase. $88,000 of that was for the new digital evidence management system that's been put in place out there. Moving on to DC control, very small increase. Just did a little ancillary thing, but probably not even worth mentioning. Network control down 28,000, mainly because we're not doing any capital projects in network control this year. We've got the storage approved out by IT fund balance earlier this year. That's going to carry us through the VMware departure, moving towards the Hyper-V virtual conversion, which is going quite well. So, yeah, not typical that we would see a year without capital requests in that one. There's usually quite a few, but this year none. So that makes it look pretty good, really. But don't get used to that one. Moving on to imaging, just a small increase. Imaging is where we're taking care of all the scanners throughout the county and some of the other systems that go along with it. And then GIS, we've had one of our first increases in many years there because we didn't do a aerial photo increase last year, so we need to double up on that this year and fly the county again and do our aerial photos. But that's a $13,000 increase in the GIS. So again, that all adds up to a difference of $208,000 from last year. There are some changes. We've gotten some numbers back since we submitted data to you. There are some things. I don't know if we want to take the time right now to tell Brandy of a couple of things that can be reduced and cut from the more detailed level, or if that's something you'd like me to sidebar and then bring it back to you with a different number. The main reason for that is we've been trying to get quotes back and figuring out what these projections are going to be. One of note is, we have the big Office 365 subscription. We're getting on that early this year before Microsoft increases their pricing in July. We found out, and so we're going to pay that invoice in June of this year, and it's actually gone down from what we paid last year. So we're projecting a lower cost next year, where we were projecting $275,000 for that subscription next year. We're thinking it'll be about $60,000, so $15,000 savings there. And like I said, there are some other things that we may be able to be reduced or removed out of the budget just based on how things are going right now. So probably I'd say no more than 10 things. So I don't know if we want to take the time now to look at those and give direction to the auditor for the changes, or if we, like I said, if you want to do that on a sidebar.
So your bottom line total increase is 141,000 for
I'm sorry, it's 208,000 because there were some changes in numbers from the data you have right there. And there's also some further changes that we may be able to bring that number down. Sorry about the different sets of data.
Um, Yeah, if you wanna just. go through some of
Where's the real quick?
I'll go through them.
So, again, like I mentioned, the office, so Brandy and I'm sorry, I should have asked you if you're okay with me throwing a couple changes at you here real quick.
Can you just send it to me in an email later?
Yeah.
I won't be able to do them on the fly,
Absolutely.
but just send them to me in an email if you want later.
So in our operating budget, the Office 365, we could decrease that one to 260,000 based on what we're seeing from the projections.
From,
From 275,
so
so
265,
to 260,
269.
so 15,000. So here's your. Just put- oh, that's- Um, we can remove, we had some things that we noticed got put through from last year that should have been removed, so about $4,000 a year of some different support and some items at the jail. They were actually a one-time cost from last year, so they don't need to be, even though they were operating budget, they won't be reoccurring. We have budgets for copiers and printers every year here at the county. They represent a combined about almost, it's $49,000. I know things are super tight for you guys this year, so at the risk of making my operating budget look like it's going up a lot next year, we could skip a year on printers and copiers and save that 49,000 if that is a significant number to help with the budget situation.
Sorry, I just didn't quite track with you. Is it a C or a D?
This is a B budget item. Every year we spend about $50,000 to make sure all the copiers and all the printers in the county are replaced on a decent schedule and up and running and
So it's a replacement, it's a
replacement, Scott. So we could skip a year and not do any copier or printer replacements throughout the county. I would absolutely have to add it back in next year. We don't want to get too off track on that, but that's something I want to bring forward and offer as a potential savings, knowing we're.
Do that 1 year of back in, or we end up with 2 years, so it'd be 100 grand next year.
No, I would just go back to the 49,000, so it'd be back up 50 next year. Basically just skip a year, get a few more miles out of them. We've really been hammering the printers and copiers for the last several years, and we've gotten the fleet tremendously better from where we didn't have this replacement budget 5-7 years ago, wherever it was. Now we've got the fleet running really well. We could maybe a compromise is to reduce that down to 10,000 or something this year, just in case there's something that blows up. We don't have to come asking for it, but we refrain from spending that and even give that back at the end of the year if not. It's a good idea.
All right, reduce it to 10.
Okay. Okay, we do have a help desk software, that does like our invoicing, it does our inventory management, it also does our, help desk, our own database for when we solve problems, we can go back to it and refer to it. That system got ridiculously expensive. It was up to about $10,000. The sheriff's side upgraded to a new version that just came with our normal maintenance costs, and it messed it all up. So they ended up wanting to go away from it. We found a software for about $4,000 that they were satisfied with and are currently using. And on the admin side, our on-base team was able to recreate a software with on-base for zero cost for us. So we can actually reduce this $10,000 line item to about $4,000. So we'll get that to Brandon as well. So there's another,
What was the software that the sheriff's office wanted that ended up creating problems with their system?
so we used it both at the sheriff and here. It was called tracking. And they went to a new version, and they said they weren't gonna support the old one. We were kind of waiting to upgrade to that. So we weren't ready to put the time into it yet. The sheriff went ahead, our sheriff IT division went ahead and upgraded theirs, and it actually ended up corrupting data, losing data. And they worked through support and they went, it was a horrible mess. And so we finally ended up just moving away from it completely. And not using the software anymore. So they needed something in a hurry because they didn't have anything. I am going to try to bring them in throughout this next year to the on-base system that's been created by the IT team and further reduce this to a $0.
And what does the track it software do?
It does inventory management, so manages every IT asset that we, because we don't put IT assets in the auditor's database anymore unless they're over $10,000. But it's obviously still important for us to track everything, you know, like it costs $1,000. So it manages all the inventory, manages all the details about the inventory. If we put a special software on it, so we don't replace that software if we replace the computer. It does our POs for us, and it does our when we get a call and we're working on this issue, we can put that service ticket basically into the software, and then another if another counterpart encounters the issue, they can go look in that database. It's not reinvent the wheel if it's already been solved. So what we've done with OnBase has recreated all of those features for us.
Okay, so they had their own software and that talked to your software, or it was the same software and they upgraded it?
It was two instances of the same software, sorry, yeah. So there was a instance at the sheriff's side that had seats for the users up there, and there was an instance down here, so. That's how it was able to be upgraded in one place and not the other. Okay. But we will get, like I said, at least half the cost savings out of that this year, and then we'll see how they, you know, they really like the software they're using, so. If they're immersed in using it, that'll be a decision whether we have them switch from that to what was created for down here, or just have them keep using it. But either way, it's a savings for now of $5,000.
Okay.
And finally, we were a little hesitant to pull the support for VMware out of there. VMware being that software we're trying to go away from and move to Hyper-V because they were crazy on how they increased all their costs and everything. But that project's going really, really well. So we're pretty sure we will be done with VMware before the end of the fiscal year and not asking for it would be $80,000 to $100,000 this year that they were wanting for that. So there was about $30,000 in the budget currently for VMware, which is what we used to pay for it, and that can all be removed. So I will send that to Brandy as well to have it taken out of there. For the most part, that's all the changes. And of course, you know, you guys have a much bigger picture to look at than we do. So if you come to us and we need to work further, we'll see what we can find. But kind of where we're at right now.
So with your cuts, how much are we going up this year?
It'll be about 150,000. We cut probably, well, if we do all the printers. I don't have that number for you. I can get that to you once I send this all to Brandy. It'll be more than 50,000. So we're probably going up about $130,000 this year.
About 95, that's
So
2 million minus 95.
anything else?
I have nothing else to present unless you guys have
Further questions, comments? Thank you very much. Next up, item 7. Well, actually, you know, I'd like to take a 5-minute recess if that's all right. So it's 10:41. Come back at 10:46. We're gonna get started again.
That's not reasonable fee.
Grant, we're gonna get started. Okay, it's 10:47. We're coming back from our recess and we're on to item 7, which is the FY27 budget review for the airport. Gaston Patterson, Airport Director.
Thank you. Appreciate being here this morning, present to you our next fiscal year 27. The shape I will be here. We put together a small presentation, just kind of show you the 10,000 foot view of what the airport's looking like, a few trends over the last 5 years and where we're headed. So just kind of gives an idea of the growth and the whys of why we may be asking for certain things. Just kind of a brief overview of the airport encompasses approximately 1,200 acres of land. There's about 146 buildings on the airport. We have right at 175 ground leases and increasing every day at the airport. Approximately 265 airplanes based there as of today. Our staff maintains, completely maintains 141 lane miles of asphalt out there in total. And that is growing as well. Every time we have a new taxiway, taxi lane, reconfigure runway, that's adding more to take care of. Right now, out of that 1,200 acres, 900 acres of that is maintained mode, has to be touched out there. The airport still currently has 11 employees in total, 9 of which are in the emergency response sector. They're the airport rescue firefighters. Just real quick, businesses that are located on the airport. These are large aerospace businesses that are based out here and growing. The newest ones are going to be Lewin Helicopter Electronics International. Electronics International moved here from Bend, Oregon. They employ just under 100 people here now. They manufacture avionics, and that list is growing. The airport's currently talking to 5 very large aerospace manufacturers that want to move here and manufacture their airplanes. So pretty exciting stuff. Based emergency response agencies at the airport have facilities. Our agency, Kootenai Airport Fire Rescue, Life Flight, Forest Service, USDA, all fire tanker aircraft, Idaho Department of Lands, their fire service sector, the small tanker aircraft, Civil Air Patrol, and Northwest Fire District all have facilities at our airport. One big thing to understand is how the airport is funded. Where does the airport get its money from? The airport is completely self-sustaining in that we do not levy any taxes to county citizens to support the airport. The airport supports the airport with fees we charge there. We're all fee-based, user fee facility. So that comes in the form of lease rent, fuel flowage fee. Every gallon of fuel that flows through the airport, we get a percent value on that. Ramp and tie down fees, people parking overnight, landing fees for larger aircraft, smaller GA airplanes don't pay to land here. Facility fees, like the air traffic control tower, or any other services they may incur. Car rental fees, we get a percentage of all cars that are rented from Go Rentals, Enterprise, Hertz at the airport. As far one of our big maintenance revenues comes from the FAA through federal grants. A lot of people think, well, I pay federal taxes. That's paying for that $6 million grant for your runway, but it's actually coming from passenger fees. So unless you physically purchase an airline ticket or use the air transportation system, your taxes are not going into the AIP account. So that comes directly from using air transportation, essentially. So just kind of a brief overview on where the airport. This little snapshot of annual aircraft operations. So an operation is a takeoff or landing. In the blue there, those are your arrivals. Orange is your departures, and then the totals per year. So steadily climbing. Last year, it shows a bit of a decline, but it's actually an increase in business. If I'll explain that a little bit, it's essentially smaller. There were less smaller airplanes doing touch and goes, and the stuff that is not paying revenue essentially, and there were more business jets coming in. So larger aircraft are coming in, we're selling more fuel, they're buying more fuel, they're paying higher landing fees. The business is increasing with the operations actually going down a little bit.
currently, year to date, we are on track to exceed 2024's number already this year. So, that 56,229, we're ahead by 10,000 operations of where we were that year already. So, we will definitely exceed last year's numbers. This looks like a big mess here, but in all reality, it kind of visually shows you that is just origin traffic this year, January 1 to yesterday. In order to be shown as a line here, that has to be a operation where it left an airport, came to our airport, and went back to their airport, so a full loop. This doesn't even represent the charter jets and stuff that are going from point to point to point to point. This has to go, come to us and go back to their original home airport. So they're coming from everywhere to visit Coeur d'Alene. All the lines that are going up at the top of the screen there, those are all international flights. We're seeing flights from everywhere in the world coming here. So our fuel flow, that's what that is showing on the larger aircraft or the smaller aircraft operations coming in. We're on a steady increase in fuel flow. Last year, we did just over 2 million gallons of jet fuel. This year, we're on par to do in excess of that. So fuel flow is looking really good. Our 100 low lead sales are constantly climbing. That's what the smaller aircraft would burn with the 100 low lead. It's just basically unleaded fuel, like it would go in a car. So fuel sales are looking really good. With that, I will go to our budget summary sheet. We'll kind of go into detail on a couple of big changes. We haven't had a lot of changes with the airport, honestly. We tried to budget pretty conservatively because basically we are tasked with having to forecast. What we're trying to do is forecast for next summer when we haven't even experienced this summer yet. Our busy season at the airport is end of spring through summer, beginning of fall. That's when the airport makes its revenue. So we essentially are trying to forecast 2 business cycles out essentially for the airport. So we try and keep our numbers pretty conservative. We try and run very lean. We run a very small crew, very uncommon. Most airports see that we run our facility with 11 people and they're pretty shocked. So I'm very proud of that. It's from the team that we have and through the support of the board as well. So this year we're showing our revenues. I'll start revenues, 2,397,347, an increase of about 144,375 over last year.
Where's that number?
On the budget summary sheet, you guys not have that one?
I have expenditures. The revenue, second page.
Sorry about that. So, everything, the revenue includes everything that was shown on the one slide. Basically, that's our ground leases. One thing I do want to point out this year, we are budgeting right at 1.6 million approximately for rents and leases. That's our ground leases. What our goal is at the airport is to be able to fund our ultimate goal is to be able to fund our A budget, B budget with our ground leases. That's the steady money that doesn't change. That's constantly coming in. That's constantly increasing. When you look at things like fuel flow and landing fees, those fluctuate. I mean, all of a sudden, one bad year in the economy and people aren't flying their jets around and landing here. So it can be pretty volatile. We want to get to where the airport is funding the operation with rents and leases. And I think we're well on track with that. We are signing multiple new leases as we speak. A lot of new development on the north side, a lot of multi-unit facilities that have been signed with development rates that snap into a higher rate as soon as the development's complete. And most of those are going to be coming complete come spring of next year. So this really doesn't even include that. We want to make sure that they're done, they're in the books, anything can happen with construction. We do not try and count the chickens before they hatch, essentially. So that's what we're pushing for, just to kind of show with our rents and leases. So with that, 2.397 for revenues. We'll go over to the expenses side. We're looking at roughly 2.362. So difference of approximately $40,000, in the black, one would say. One of the big changes to our A budget is gonna be, the addition of a leasing and contract specialist. We are looking to do the hire, we're just budgeting for 6 months, so we're looking to actually make the hire come next, April, May, right before our busy cycle. Rather than fund this for the entire year, we would be hiring this person till 27, start advertising. This person probably would be hired till the end of this year. We're gonna be coming into our slow season now. Come last year, our slow season wasn't really our slow season. It was the first busy winter we had due to a lot of winter, had a lot of drive, a lot of business there. But just to be able to get a full business cycle under our belt this year, I would like to, look at hiring that person at the beginning of next year. So we'll be funding that for 6 months out of this year. If something doesn't look right, we have the option after this business cycle to freeze that position or not hire that position. But I just want to, move a little bit further down the track and get something under our belt, before we make that hire. If you go to this slide here, then your packet there essentially shows our current org chart and where that leasing and contract specialist would fall in their under administration. This person essentially, as we've said, would handle all leasing contracts, all new leases coming through the airport. Right now, the airport, for the last couple of years, we've done approximately 52 leases that come before the board and been approved. So one would say that's only one a week in a year. But one lease can take multiple days by the time you run everything legal. We've gone before our surveyor, got the lot, it's been back and forth. It's very time consuming drafting that lease before it actually comes to the board. As of year to date, we are already at 42 leases that have come through. So we are looking to double, close to double our leases this year already. Come next year, we will have all those multi-unit facilities coming together and being leased out to new owners. Our leases will likely exceed 100 to 150 leases next year. So the current bandwidth in our office, we're running people at 150% right now just to keep up with demand.
So you're gonna have 150 new leases next year.
Yes, we do. Yeah. We have the possibility to, with the type of construction that's happening out here, the bunch of multi-unit facilities that will be condoed out and sold. Each one of those will have its own lease.
So basically, you're saying we're gonna go from 175 to 325.
No. Right now we're at 52. This year, by the end of this calendar year, we will likely be in that 80 mark leases process. And then come next year, like we could absolutely exceed 100 leases. We're probably gonna be 100, 125 leases.
So what is the 175 ground leases in unpack it?
So those are existing leases.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we would.
Oh, sorry. Yes, correct. Yeah, so we could double the amount of leases we have on the airport. Yes. Easy.
Okay.
Very easy.
How come that's not in here?
Sorry.
In the presentation? Because your volume year over year is very helpful to understand how your workload changes. So like the 175 is a snapshot. It's like a balance sheet, but it's really a transaction. And the only other question I have is on the revenues. You have budgeted revenues, but what about actual for like FY25? How did we come in on that versus budget? Where
I think we did roughly 2.4 million went to fund balance last year at the close.
Okay. It'd be nice to kind of see these things a little bit. That way we can, because, when I was your liaison, you always said we're running a business, right? So it'd be nice to just kind of see, here's the revenues, here's the expenses, here's what we projected, here's where we came in more. And I know that the airport is growing. Just know that when it comes to adding staff and things like that, it's really important to be able to show these trend lines and, why you need these things as opposed to just telling why you.
And I think a lot of that is tied directly. We wanted to keep this presentation very high level, very simple for time purposes, but our operations and fuel flow and traffic, that is directly that meters the business. That is our business.
Yeah, I understand. It's a budget, so budgets usually are numbers, dollars. By showing the dollars coming in, where they're coming from, how they're growing year over year, how, simultaneously, the number of planes being based are growing year over year, the number of leases are growing year over year. Here's our projection into FY27 and even FY28. Showing that even in graphs and things like that really helps to articulate the need for more staffing. Right. And then how that changes workload and so forth.
Absolutely. Yep. And it definitely comes down to staff efficiencies as well. Having enough staff, the more efficiently we can process these new leases and getting people in the door and get their stuff complete, the quicker we're making money off with them as well. So that all helps at the end of the year when we're looking at the bottom line. Any more questions on?
I'm listening.
B budget, we wanted to highlight just a few of our larger increases. Our ETC contract, that has an automatic 15% escalator year over year for their contract in the contract. Still an extremely good deal for what we're receiving compared to other organizations within the contract power system. So we factored in a little bit higher. They don't have to take that increase. That is optional on their side, but we plan for it. So we budget in case we get it from them. They don't even have to take the full 15% as well. They can do just 5% increase or 10%.
Are you planning on increasing fees correspondingly for this?
Absolutely. Yeah. We just actually did one of our largest fee increases and restructures that came before the board just a few months ago. And we are seeing the needle move now. The airport had not visited, I would say, probably 80% of its fees in the last 10 to 15 years. And we did a very wholesome look. We actually had a special fee committee with the advisory board. Review everything from our tie downs to our tower fees to fuel flowage. We were very, very behind in the market. So it's exciting to see. I mean, we're only a month into billables because we're always a month behind, but this last month looks fantastic for fees. So I'm very excited to see what the end of this business cycle looks like for us.
Is that built into your FY27 revenue budget?
They are, yes.
And how much of this $144,000 change is related to the fees?
A decent amount. There's a fair, I would say a fair amount. We have.
What does that mean out of 144,000? A decent or fair?
I mean, I can definitely get into the weeds a little bit as far as fuel flowage, traffic. We increased our fuel flowage fee.
That's fine. If you don't have it, you don't have it. But it's just, I'm trying to understand how these numbers are going up, what's making them go up.
Sure.
What are your drivers at the airports to grow your revenue base?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you look at that, if we break it down into our actual, our budget worksheet report, we're going from last year, 200,000 to 324,000 on our fuel flowage low. And that is largely from the fee increase on that. And that is from the type of business that we are seeing here now. Last year, we didn't have all the larger aircraft flowing the fuel to our. So we're looking at trends as far as the fleet mix of aircraft that are coming in and what they're paying. The same for our landing fees, air traffic control fees, like all of that breaks down into the type of airplanes that are coming in. That's how we arrived at those higher numbers by the 144,000.
Yeah, I'm sure you arrived at some. I just haven't seen it. So, and I'm just more visual than auditory when it comes to looking at these things.
Absolutely. So, our Avista bills, we all received the same letter. Avista went up by roughly 6-7%. That's at $3,090. Firefighting support, we did an increase on that just due to older aged equipment and aging out as far as turnouts, firefighting gear, nozzles, hoses, different things like that. Decreases we made were in our vehicle repair and vehicle maintenance were our big ones. Due to our new fleet coming in now, we are not repairing those vehicles like we were. Our older fleet was getting engines and transmissions and all kinds of things. So we were able to reduce those line items. Advertisements, we really don't do a huge advertising marketing campaign at the airport. It's pretty self-advertising for our area and the people that are coming here. We've never spent that budget, so that was one of the items that we wanted to just, we reduced that by almost 81%. There, another big one was our travel. We reduced our travel by just over $10,000 from last year. We don't do a ton of traveling. Usually it's just our firefighter recertifications when we go to our live burns over in Helen, Montana. So we felt they were, you know, we've done different conference travels and meetings in Boise and stuff, and we've never hit the budget that's always been in there. So it's just one of the areas we thought we could clean up in there and more fine tune what we actually use. So any questions on the budget expenses? I don't have anything further on that one. As far as our sewer fund, Fund 301, it's pretty simple. The big change this year was our expenses went up, our fees went up with parks. Our revenues more than covered the increase. We're looking at $90,000 at our budgeted revenue, and expenses around $63,055 for FY27. We will have that same capital carry forward for the lift station repairs. Moving forward to next year, we haven't had to do those repairs yet. So we'll probably next year be looking at a rate study to increase sewer fees. The airport is to maintain current growth, but right now we're looking pretty good for Fund 301. Questions on sewer funds? That's all I really have as far as kind of the top down view, what we're looking at. I can answer any questions right now.
Any questions? I think right, you go ahead.
I was just gonna tell the board that usually every budget cycle, the increase for steps in health insurance for that budget year is paid for by general fund in the airport. And in FY27, we're budgeting for the airport to pay for their own health insurance increase and cost of steps, and it's about $38,000. So I have added that expense into their new budget. So now they're picking up their own cost for that first year instead of general fund. And I did the same for the transit department since they're still being for with their grants.
I think the only thing I'd like to see is just how your revenues are growing, where they're growing from, what's driving that, your leasing. Because if you want to add another staff member, I'd like to have that kind of illustrated. Yeah, I don't even think we've really talked about that much at all. And usually budget time is, you know, not the time to be saying I need more staff. If we haven't had an opportunity to kind of prep for that a little bit. And so that would be helpful in that sense, to have that discussion of the rest of the operation. I mean, I trust that you're on top of things and all that kind of stuff, but we've had very little interaction between the airport and the board over the last year. So that's where I think just get a little more detail. This stuff is helpful.
Absolutely.
How long has the building gone now?
2.5 years.
So you've been kind of down half a body for 2.5 years.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is item 8, FY27 budget review, community development. Our director, Mike Bear.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike Berry, Community Development Director for the record. Got a brief presentation prepared for you. We'll just start off with revenues. So compared to last year's, we Last year's amended 2026 budget was for 4,314,000. And we are projecting 4,289,000. That is a revenue decrease of 25,000. However, we just implemented this new building fast track program, and we're not for sure how those fees are coming in. We're projecting 25,000 for planning and 25,000 for building, as you can see this line right here. So that could fluctuate a little. We're not for sure how that's going to come in, but that's a conservative number.
What's the driver? Is it just fewer permits coming in, fewer?
We're not seeing a significant increase or significant decrease, so we're just kind of a conservative number. We just went with for the revenues for coming in.
No, I mean with how they're coming. I'm just curious, but obviously there's those large bottom line numbers are divided by events. You know, being applications or something. If we, you know, for FY26, and I know you kind of came in mid-year, so it's a harder question to answer.
Yeah.
How many applications were people, you know, projecting for FY26 to come up with a $4.3 million revenue? And they are we above or below those applications?
Oh, we're at 75% right now. And we have 3 of the 26 budget, so we're,
Okay, so the 20, okay. So,
yeah, we have 3 months to go still, so we're gonna hit that or maybe exceed it.
so that's year to date, 4.3.
No, that was the budget that was approved.
Okay.
We have actuals that show what we're at actually. And that the actuals and the performance report will show that.
All right.
We're at 75%.
I apologize. I just was off a little bit. That you're just projecting a lower revenue for 27.
Yeah, that's, we're just comparing.
Got it.
You know, if I could interject with Craig Davidson for the record. Fast track program's been in effect for 2 months now. We're average timeline is 8 days of a turnaround on a residential permit ready to issue. So far, with the fees, we've added $11,700 in just the fast track fees. Revenue, we're at $196,500 in 2 months. So this thing is growing, and the projection we said, well, 25,000. Get a look at the projections rates based on this 2-month period and probably amortize from there.
I got it. I understand. Okay, thank you.
All right, so for our expenses, for the A budget for 2026 was 4,614,000, and we're projecting 4,206 with the 27 budget. And then the total B budget, we had 457,000 in 2026, and in 2027 is 180. And part of that decrease is we have a contract with SCJ Alliance with the comp plan, and that was a huge part of that 26 budget. And part of that will have to roll over into next year and come back to see you in October to get that put back in our budget, whatever the remainder is. And part of the C budget in 26, we had a vehicle that we requested, and we do not need a vehicle in 27, so there's no vehicle request. Okay. So that shows that for 26 was 4.6 million total, and we're going to be 4.3.8. So 256,000 that we're going to be over. Decrease. So here's our projected increases on our budget. So legal notices, we think there's going to be an increase in that just for publication costs and the amount of cases that we're taking on. So small miscellaneous items we raised, and then this non-capital software for our permitting software, we're projecting or proposing to move this into the cloud. We're working with IT on that. They're in support of this movement and to migrate this into the cloud. We're going to try to incorporate our fast track program into fast track fees so we can all get this all incorporated within the system as a cohesive process for the applicant and for the customer and for our staff. And there's some other miscellaneous items on here. That's not showing the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, you just see a new fee in there for mediation. Those are for the code enforcement cases when we go, the courts are now directing everything go to mediation prior to going to trial. the effect there is we have to pay for it as soon as we go. The last one we did was about $1,800. So we've only done one. It's looking like we can do a few more this upcoming year. So we just want to project those costs. If we don't use them, that's fantastic.
Is that $1,800 our share or
Our share. Both parties have to pay. And it can be anywhere from 18 to 25 and the rate and the time.
And usually the applicant is the one that's initiated the mediation or,
No, actually, it's correct. Yeah.
but who's going to court, us or them?
Oh, we are. We're petitioning it. And then it goes and then we're directed to go to mediation unless it's an emergency circumstance for an injunction. And I'll talk a little bit about the cloud. The big thing is Azure standard, it's the industry standard, for security, cyber security, everything else. We gain nothing leaving our network. I'll just tell you right now. We have an outstanding IT section for what they've done for us, what they've done in terms of incident response, things like that. There's no gain there. But what we do gain is an enhanced workflow. The biggest thing for us right now is the note that's on the bottom. We have over $1 million in outstanding fees. By going to this with the fee collection integration, right now, if we had this in effect, I'd have a conservatively $350,000 more on hand in paid permit fees. So the return on investment will be incredible. It's $20,000 a year. This is a first time request, so we brought forward to you, if approved, then consecutively it would be enough IT budget most likely. So the maintenance fees we pay for IMS is $25,000 a year. This would be $20,000 additional for the cloud support, which would be $45,000.
And is there any offset by in-house if we move it to the cloud? Is there any savings we might be able to enjoy with IT like cloud? And one less server to maintain?
I'd have to defer to Grant on that. They're pretty efficient when we do it. I've asked them about cost factor for that return, and it's not a high dollar amount of maintenance in terms of man-hours and support. I would imagine life cycle replacement of the equipment.
We run 175 servers on 6 servers right now. And the IMS system represents 2 of those servers. So it's there. There's not a large cost savings to be realized from an infrastructure standpoint. That's what a lot of our talks have been about. You know, we've been looking to see, can we find any personnel and IT savings, any infrastructure savings, and they're just not there. But from what Greg has shown me of what they're talking about here, you know, $20,000 extra a year is going to far be outweighed by what they're going to get back from the system. As far as IT is concerned, we don't have a dog in fight whether it's hosted here or whether it's in the cloud. We're fully in support of it going there. We just can't supply the technical justification to help bolster why we would do this. But there's absolutely no reason not to do it based on the numbers that are being shown.
It seems to make good business sense.
Okay. Thanks. Yes. So this slide represents our projected decreases. So we've cut areas for office supplies, non-capital equipment. This is a consultant fee for SCJ Alliance, so that we will obviously reduce a lot. There's our phones and merit system, we dropped it by 500, auto repair by 600, and vehicle purchase was 32,000. Phones were huge for operation. So I mean, that's a significant cost savings. 10,000. And then for our personnel requests, we have 5 requests. One is for changing the administrative secretary to administrative assistant, code compliance officer from a 1 to a 2. We have eliminated our part-time planning position, so that position has been eliminated out of our budget and will not be replacing that person. And then the final one is for the building inspector. We moved a building inspector to a plans exam. And the overall summary for our budget is to maintain core public services while reducing the overall departmental budget by more than $256,000 from fiscal year 2026 levels. Continue a strong commitment to fiscal responsibility through targeting reduction in consulting, vehicle purchase and operational expenditures, and then also moving the permit software into the IMS, moving that into the cloud, and then completion of our comprehensive plan and ongoing service delivery.
That's all we have for community development. To answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Great, thank you.
Well, maybe if those numbers go down like that, it's a pretty big deal. Especially when you look at where it was a few years ago.
I'll make some other numbers go up for Brandy as well.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we've already done the BOCC, that was item 9. We might be able to power through this and get through it today.
I prefer to come back at 1 o'clock on building and grounds and veterans, but we do have parks and waterways we can do before lunch. I just like to walk campus. So it's already 11:23.
Well, that's fine. You ready to do?
And Commissioner, I'm very quite pleased that Brandy's still here, so thank you, Brandy.
Yeah, I have to leave at 11:40 for an appointment.
I'll be very brief.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna come to item 12. It's the FY27.
Commissioners. This will be on the board, but I know it's difficult to sort of turn your head the whole time and try and.
So we're gonna do item 12, FY27 budget review, parks and waterway, noxious weeds. It's good. We have our director, next night.
We still morning or good morning, commissioners. I'll be brief. As Parks and Waterways, Noxious Weeds, and Snow Groomer does everything, we got together as a team. Reviewed our revenues, our expenses, our goals for fiscal year 27. And we heard the commissioners loud and clear. It's a tough year. It is every year, but we understand your challenges. So we dug in best we could. The document before you is just a snapshot of the overall budget. If the board would like to dig in line by line, we can do that if you choose. I focused on the things I thought you'd be most interested in. Starting at the top, you can see noxious weeds. We have some decreases and some increases. I'll focus on those increases, which are memorialized in green. You can see we have a small increase in postage. If you see 8041 vehicle maintenance and expenses, it just represents a set of tires for a pickup for noxious weeds. And some other increases based on transfer, telephone, et cetera. But you can see our overall budget decrease is $2,533. And our capital decrease is $15,000 because of the lack of a vehicle needing to purchase from that account this year. So any questions on noxious weeds? Very well. So Snow Groomer, that's a difficult one, commissioners. We have no changes, 0 up or down. The reason is the entire program is predicated on snowfall. So that one is difficult. There is adequate fund balance. We'll continue to manage it with the fuel prices the way they are. We do have some concerns that people may not recreate in 2027 if fuel prices stay, fiscal year 2027 if fuel prices stay up. So again, nothing up, nothing down. We'll operate within our means best we can in that account. So any questions on the Snow Groomer?
No.
Very well. Moving on to parks, which is a general fund account, again, scrubbing everything that we possibly could while still being able to meet the needs of the public. You'll notice an increase in herbicides in the amount of 2,500. That's necessary to spray that newly acquired property along Highway 95 trail, as well as the new shop building just north of Parks and Waterways main office that the commissioners were kind enough to acquire as part of that property acquisition. So we need to control our weeds per Idaho code. So that's what that increase is for. And then you can see our non-capital equipment is negative. Sorry about the colored ink. It should read red. Then we have some equipment rental, and that's for some portable restrooms. That's an increase of $485, so nothing significant. And then another increase in our CDL training. So we used to be able to train our own staff on CDL operation and certification. We can no longer do that. The state made some changes a few years ago. I won't bore you with it, but that did force us to send them to a legitimate school. However, to make up for those expenses, you'll look down, you'll see a reduction in our travel expenses decrease. And then we did not have to spend quite as much onboarding our new park ranger that the board approved last year. So thank you very much for that. So we were able to have a $1,700 savings there as well. And again, our total B budget increase overall is $555 in parks. Then dropping down to capital within that same budget, you'll see a replacement of a vehicle and that's split with the boat launch and vessels. So the general fund portion of the new vehicle is 15,000. The rest is split with non-general fund accounts. And then we have a service body, which if the commissioners, I'm sure are aware, these service bodies that go on the back of the utility truck, it has cabinets and those that lock. We have a 2007 diesel truck. That new truck is $100,000. If we're able to put a new service body on it, we're confident we can get another 100,000 out of that for a $21,000 expense to put a new service body on it. It's simply rusted out. It's done. So that will be a good investment, a good return on investment over the next 10 years. We are hopeful. And on that replacement vehicle of the $15,000 from parks, as we typically do, commissioners, our SOP is to trickle down a vehicle whenever possible. We have a quality vehicle that Parks and Waterways will replace and with a new and trickle down to juvenile detention maintenance. I said that correct. They're excited to get a half-ton pickup from us so they can put a snowplow on it. So that vehicle will be trickled down. It's in good condition. Parks and Waterways is very fastidious about their vehicle maintenance. However, it's reached policy as per the Fleet Management Committee's recommendation to replace that vehicle. As the board knows, our vehicles travel to the outer reaches of the county in all sorts of weather. And when they hit 125,000, we like to trickle them down. So that's how that vehicle will be disposed of, if that's what the board would like to do. And you'll see our total capital there is $20,000 out of parks. Again, that's a general fund account, and that is a capital increase over last year of 10,000. But again, the service body is a 20-year investment, so on that vehicle, so it should be a good return on that investment. Dropping down to boat launch, a non-general fund account. So I'm sorry, Commissioner, I can't help you there to take the burden off the general fund. But again, we made some significant reductions there. You'll see our non-capital equipment is sort of negligible at $15. And then our other utilities, same thing, portable restrooms, toilets are expensive. So we do have an increase there as well. But we have a decrease in our print shop cost, which has moved over to Reprographics. So we appreciate that. And Brandy for reminding us that that was a benefit there. So our total B budget decrease is $2,400, roughly $2,500 there. And you'll see it sort of repeats itself a little bit within that boat launch, commissioners. After we get past the Micah Bay boat launch, we do have a project there of $75,000. Again, it's non-general fund dollars. We're going to pour a new boat launch at Micah Bay, and so people will appreciate that. And then the next two of capital is that vehicle split with parks, and then the service body also split with parks. And then so our total capital, non-general fund dollars, $40,000, but you'll see a significant reduction there in capital from 2026 of $94,000. So any questions on any of those things? Very well.
Yeah.
So moving on to vessel, again, a non-general fund account, that is vessel registration collected from the state. You'll see our travel expenses decreased. Again, that helps make up for that CDL driver, sort of a one-time expense there. And then we had some miscellaneous decreases based on trends. You can memorialize there before you, some utilities. And then again, the training for the CDL. So we can get another driver on board. And so a total B budget decrease of $102. Not much, but we're running a pretty tight budget as it is. So that was our best opportunity. And then again, with the vehicle replacement, you can see there for a total capital of $15,000 in vessel. Again, a non-general fund account, dropping down one more finally, and that is the public access. That's Fund 38. That is derived from floating green money. So honestly, Idaho Department of Lands money. Kootenai County uses that to make recreational improvements on Lake Coeur d'Alene or its tributaries as outlined by that agreement, the Idaho Department of Lands. And you can see that's going toward that Micah Bay boat launch. So roughly we'll have about $100,000 budget for the Micah Bay boat launch project, which I'll bring forward to the commissioners with a contract in the months to come. So our overall budget decrease between capital, non-capital, B, and then A, which of course we don't control, the A budget at all, is 1.03% overall. So we did our best, commissioners, to bring in what we could. It's based on trends, based on revenue expenditures, and that's what we had. That's the quick.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes. So the fire season, it's gonna be a dire one, I think.
I agree.
Is that gonna affect you?
Only if the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office should ask us to come out and support any fire activities with our workboat. We may have some additional cost of fuel, but we know where to send bills, sir.
Good. Any other questions or comments? The only thing I'd like to say, Director Snyder, is that you make it easy for this board, so thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for your time. I know you're busy too.
All right.
And thank you for everybody. She did exceptional job in her staff. That's the thing that's in getting there.
All right, so we're gonna take a recess. It's 11:33 and we'll reconvene about 1 p.m.